This video is sponsored by Normandy 1998, Ash, Team Valor, and Truman. We resume with Team Tennyson on a bright and sunny morning, as all aboard the Rust Bucket are awakened by the sound of Gwen falling out of bed with a scream. From his bunk, Ben chuckles at his cousin's expense, musing that he can already tell today is going to be a good day. That is until his eyes fall upon the Omnitrix, which is spinning and flashing erratically, in a way that makes Ben uneasy. Looking over to Kevin, the young brunette asks if he has any idea what this means. Though shrugging, Kevin replies the watch is always glitchy, so he wouldn't worry about it. Unable to refute his pal's point, Ben pushes this worry to the back of his mind, with it quickly being forgotten when he sees that for once, Grandpa Max has prepared a normal breakfast of bacon and eggs, a fact he is more than willing to capitalize on, chowing down before Max can pull the rug out from under him by revealing that it's actually some weird creature. Shockingly, nothing of the sort happens, with Ben quickly finishing his meal, and even being treated to some morning exercise when a busload of cheerleaders breaks down just outside where they're parked. Seeing a chance to be a hero and impress a bunch of pretty girls, Ben rushes to the rescue, transforming into Diamond Head and using his crystal constructs to patch their blown tire. However, before the bus can depart, a couple of old faces make themselves known, Volcanus and 6-6, with Ben single-handedly kicking both their butts, earning him many oohs and ahs from the cheerleaders, least of all Kai Green, who Ben had up until now not noticed, with Kai making special note to thank him for being her hero, while also adding that she was stupid to ignore him last time, and that he's the only guy for her, a claim which makes Ben blush a little beneath his stony skin. Were this not good enough, a few hours later Grandpa Max treats the kids to lunch at Pizza and Play, with them finishing up just as a copy of the upcoming Sumo Slammers video game falls off a passing delivery van, with the entire family agreeing that Ben should keep it, since he does so much for others that he deserves a little reward every now and then. In fact, when they get back to their campsite, Grandpa even sets up the TV on a picnic table for Ben and Kevin to play the game in style, while Gwen offers to fetch them snacks. Briefly, Ben does think it's a little weird that Gwen's acting so nice, though, like his worries about the watch, this is soon pushed aside as he proceeds to dominate Kevin, with the older boy having no choice but to admit that Ben really is the superior sumo slammer. It is during this time that three new figures sneak their way into the campsite, those being Gwen, Max, and Kevin, with the latter calling for Ben to turn around and look at them. Unfortunately, the one who turns around is none other than the Kevin seated beside Ben, with him quickly growing hostile as he coats himself in metal from the TV and lunges at the interlopers. Mirroring this move, the sneaking Kevin coats himself in pavement instead, with the two beginning a roughly even clash as they each yell at Ben to help them. Not sure who to trust as both Kevins look and act like the real deal, Ben tells them to prove their legitimacy, in order the Metal Kevin is happy to obey as he pleads with Ben to think of their friendship, though this is cut off by Concrete Kevin who snarks that this guy is such a phony, as if he'd ever lose to Ben at Sumo Slammers. At these words, Ben's eyes narrow, and with a set to his jaw, he slams down on the Omnitrix, transforming into Heat Blast and lobbing a fireball into Metal Kevin that sends him flying. Looking a little stunned that his gambit actually worked, Concrete Kevin asks how Ben knew he was the real deal, with Ben shrugging that you can always trust Kevin to be an abrasive jerk. Letting out a growl of frustration that he can't believe Ben would have roasted him alive if he'd been nicer to him, Kevin calls the brunette a doofus. Though cutting in, Gwen points out that now's not the time, as she begins explaining that Ben's trapped in a dream world created by the Forever Knights in order to steal the Omnitrix, and that she, Kevin, and Grandpa snuck in to bust him out. Though, before she can say much more, a coldly regal voice retorts he's afraid none of them will be leaving, and as the team turn to face the voice, they see none other than Enoch where the fake Kevin once was. Smirking that he's not afraid of Enoch or the Forever Dweebs, Ben readies himself to melt his shiny gold faceplate with another fireball. Though cackling sinisterly, Enoch sneers that young Master Tennyson should have listened more closely to his cousin. They're in his world, which means he makes the rules. And if Ben is not content to rest peacefully in a dream, then he can instead experience a nightmare. At once, the campsite melts away to reveal Ben's school, with Kevin and Gwen both snickering that this is really what his nightmare is. Though before Ben can retort, Max gives them all some grim news, that unless they can get out of the dream world before Enoch finishes getting the Omnitrix off, their consciousnesses will likely be lost forever. At once, the team falls silent as they contemplate the implications of these words. That is until Ben lets out a loud shriek as Kevin pinches him. Angrily, Ben asks what that was for, with young Osmosian replying that he thought it might make him wake up, to which Max agrees that this is probably their best course of action, since if they were able to get in through a chink in the Dream Machine's defenses, then there must be a way for Ben to get out into the real world, and them with him. Frowning, Ben muses that if he were Enoch, aside from changing his outfit so he didn't look like a Ren Fair reject, his goal would be to hide the way out in the last place he'd twisted look, with Gwen snidely suggesting the shower, though to her surprise, Ben calls her a genius, before declaring it must be his gym locker, since he's still got his gym clothes from first grade in there since he never uses it. In a disgusted tone, Gwen sighs that while delving through his smelly gym socks is the last thing she'd want to do, he's probably right, with the team heading in the direction of the locker room. Naturally, Enoch can't make things easy for them, as he is also present in the nightmare, flanked by troll versions of Ben's bullies Cash and JT. Though snarking that these guys look like a couple of posers, Kevin quickly metals up and rushes into the fray, while Gwen does likewise with her spells. This leaves Ben and Max to battle Enoch, with the Forever Night leader declaring the boy should give up, since he is little more than a gnat in a world that he controls. Though smirking, Ben tells Enoch not to be so sure, since this is his dream, meaning he can control the world around him too. He then demonstrates this by transforming himself and his grandfather into superheroes, with all the powers of his Omnitrix aliens, something Enoch was evidently not prepared for. He is therefore similarly unprepared for the cosmic butt-kicking he receives, with it ultimately culminating in a team attack from the heroes, which manages to break Enoch's control entirely, leaving him trapped in the dream world, while Ben awakens and hastens to the nearby Rust Bucket, where he is very glad to see his family safe and sound as they put the pedal to the metal, not wanting to be around when Enoch or his goons realize he has escaped. However, it seems that Enoch will not be noticing anything, as he is now too lost in his own dream world, a fact which seems to disgust a pair of figures as they coldly survey the gold-masked man from the shadows. The first, a red knight with two swords slung across their backs, says nothing, simply turning to face their compatriot, a man in a large suit of shining silver armor, who disdainfully declares that once again Enoch has failed him, so from here on out, the task of destroying Ben Tennyson and his allies will fall to him, the Forever King. Meanwhile, back with Team Tennyson, they're in for a day at the beach, as the events of Divided We Stand play out like canon, with Ben getting Ditto, being kidnapped by Animo, and it falling to the rest of the family once again, along with some Ditto clones this time to rescue him before he can be vivisected by the mad scientist. Following a brief battle with Animo's alien-animal hybrids in which he is defeated and returned to police custody, the heroes proceed to have some fun in the sun, though it seems they have not seen the last of Animo, as rather than take the Doctor to prison, the van instead pulls into a secluded alley, at which point the back doors are thrown open to reveal none other than the Forever King, who informs Animo that he is assembling a team and would appreciate the man's scientific acumen in exchange for a chance to get revenge upon those who have wronged him, an offer the Doctor is all too eager to accept. However, Animo is not the King's only acquisition, with his next coming not long after the events of Don't Drink the Water. Like the last episode, it goes more or less like canon, except for the fact that thanks to being at Ben's side when the dunk tank breaks, Kevin is also transformed into a toddler, meaning instead of dealing with one pint-sized pain, Gwen and 10-year-old Max must contend with two who bounce off each other, doubling the chaos. Thankfully, following a heat blast tantrum from Ben, the Fountain of Youth is evaporated and everyone is restored to their rightful ages. That is except for Hex, who is now little more than a baby, leaving him in the care of Charmcaster, who gleefully informs him that his days of terrorizing her are long gone. It is during this time that the Forever King makes himself known, with the same offer he made to Animo, though instead of science, it is magic he wants from Charmcaster, as he needs her to counter what he dubs the Tennyson Witch. Knowing this means Gwen, and being all too happy to get some payback, Charmcaster does not refuse, with this evidently pleasing the King, as he declares that with her on board, he now only needs to retrieve one final ally, and he will have all 10 of the people he requires to ensure his victory in their battle with the Tennysons. Speaking of the Tennysons, we return to them just in time for a wedding, specifically between Max's nephew Joel and a Lenopan woman named Camille. This of course means the kids also have to attend, a prospect neither Ben nor Kevin relish, though their spirits are lifted somewhat when Max reveals Joel and his family are all ex-plumbers. This particularly excites Kevin, as he hopes that it will be a chance to hear more about his father from people who knew him, with Max helping this by introducing him to the family as Devin Levin's son. Unfortunately, it is here that Kevin's hopes are crushed, as while Max's brother Gordon and his wife Betty Jean do remember Devin, and even speak favourably of him, the highest praise they have for the deceased Osmosian is that he was one of the good ones, since he knew how to act human, to the point no one would even know he was an alien. These words incense Kevin, with the boy not even dignifying them with a response as he storms away. Shocked by this reaction, Betty Jean asks what got him so mad, a question Ben himself would like answered as he gives chase, calling out to his best friend to slow down and tell him why the heck he blew his top when those old guys were saying nice stuff about his dad. Still seething, Kevin retorts that they weren't saying nice things at all, they were looking down on him and his dad, since by saying his dad was one of the good ones, it implies that being an alien is bad, or something to be ashamed of. He then asks Ben how it would feel if someone said he was one of the good humans, because he can transform into an alien and hide his humanity, causing the boy to admit that it wouldn't feel great, and that he hadn't considered that. All the same, Ben encourages Kevin not to worry about what some old geezers think, with the rest of the afternoon and early evening being spent in exploration, with this coming in handy as after a brief dip in the lake, the boys witness a runaway truck heading right for the altar. Switching into hero mode, Ben transforms into Accelerate, carrying Kevin into the van's path, while he in turn touches the concrete walkway, allowing him to coat himself in it and act as a barricade that stops the vehicle in its tracks. However, this is not without consequence, as hearing the crash, everyone rushes to investigate, with Gordon and Betty Jean quickly pulling laser rifles, as they declare that they should have known it was aliens, since they're always causing trouble. Naturally, Kevin wants to fight back, but figuring it might not look great if his best pal beats up the parents of the groom before the wedding photos get taken, Ben grabs him and runs, trusting the old plumber's ignorance to keep them from figuring out the identity of the two aliens they were just about to shoot. As a result, Kevin is still in a foul mood by the time the practice dinner rolls around, though he is cheered up a little when it's revealed that Ben will have to dance with Camille's cousin Lucy, much to the younger boy's embarrassment. All the same, the pair find themselves getting on rather well with Lucy, as like them she is a prankster, having a fondness for saying or doing shocking things, only to yell, "Psych," with a snorting chuckle. Thanks to this new friendship, Kevin has someone to hang out with when Ben slinks away to receive dance lessons from Gwen, with us seeing him gravitate towards the bridal party, where he is introduced to Camille's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Mann, both of whom express sympathy for what their soon-to-be in-laws said about Kevin's lineage, while subtly implying concerns that if they treat the son of an ally that way, what will they do to the daughter of their enemy? Due to his biases, Kevin is unable to see through this somewhat transparent manipulation, not even noticing that they failed to mention the incident by the altar, which is all anyone else can talk about. Instead, he finds himself getting more and more convinced that this wedding is a bad idea, and that Joel's family are the source of the problem. However, before he can act on it, the party is attacked by Camille's ex-boyfriend, another Lenopan, who attempts to crush Joel. That is until Ben re-enters the scene now as Diamond Head, with him severing the sludge monster's hand with a burst of crystals before rushing in to fight. For the briefest of moments, Kevin hesitates, as an angry, cynical part of him feels that Joel and his family have this coming for how they treat aliens, though a second lady pushes this aside, as he's not that kind of guy anymore, and so joins Ben in the fight, coating himself in silver and making his arm into a big spoon, which he used to scoop up chunks of the Lenopan wedding crasher and throw them away from the rest of his body, making him smaller and weaker. One such lob happens to land in the punch bowl, with this having an interesting result as it quickly dissipates, cluing the boys in on the fact that Lenopans are weak to water. With this in mind, Ben and Kevin then work to drive this guy away from the guests and into the pool area, with Ben giving him a good shove that sends him toppling into the drink and out of commission. Unfortunately, no good deed goes unpunished, as when the boys return to the party, it is in an uproar, with Joel arguing with his parents about whether they should be allowed to bring guns to the ceremony tomorrow, while Camille argues with her parents about whether the ceremony should happen at all. Watching this play out, Kevin finds himself growing pensive, as for the first time it becomes clear that Joel is not the same as his parents, and that by assuming he was being just as much of an idiot and a jerk as those geezers, with it also giving him serious second thoughts about what the mans had said. This doubt is put to the test the following morning, as just when the wedding ceremony is set to begin, Camille's parents spring their trap, revealing that they set everything up to ensure the plumbers were defenseless, since if they cannot make their daughter see sense and call off this wedding, they'll have to do the next best thing, and kill her filthy meat puppet groom. They then begin shifting into their true forms, large monstrous creatures made of mud, while urging Camille, Lucy, and even Kevin to join them. Naturally, Camille will not turn against her beloved, instead urging her parents to stop this nonsense right now, while Lucy refuses because she likes these people and doesn't want to hurt anyone. As for Kevin, he flatly tells them that he's not going to do that, and that he's done with all these old people and their stupid BS. Evidently, Camille and Joel share this sentiment, as when her parents go on the attack, Camille shifts into her own full and open form to hold them back, while Joel does his best to help. This buys Kevin enough time to turn himself once more into concrete, and Ben to transform into Heat Blast, with him raining fire down upon the mudfolk, which causes them to harden like clay. As this happens, Gordon and Betty Jean find themselves paralyzed, unable to believe that not only are aliens including a sludge puppy fighting to protect them, but that a plumber can fight side by side with them. Though ordering them to run now have an epiphany later, Gwen and Max begin shepherding them away from the action. When the coast is finally clear, Kevin tells Camille and Joel to fall back as he grabs Mr. and Mrs. Mann, man, holding them in place so that Ben can flash fry them while he is kept safe by his concrete coating. This thankfully puts an end to the whole affair, and as the group reconvene, Gordon lays a hand on Kevin's shoulder, giving him a grandfatherly grin and stating that he'd make one heck of a plumber. However, pulling away with a look of visible revulsion, Kevin nods that yeah, he would, like his alien dad was, his tone almost daring the old man to make a derogatory comment. Though, letting out a low sigh, Gordon nods, stating that Devon was a good man, and leaving it at that. Following this, the reception is able to go off without a hitch, seeing Ben dance with Lucy as promised, while Gwen and Kevin watch, with Kevin wolf whistling loudly each time Ben comes into earshot, and Gwen laughing when her cousin slips in the mud that had up until recently been Lucy's feet, as she taunts that this will teach him not to step on his dance partner's foot in future. However, this teasing is not without a price, as Ben and Lucy quickly devise a scheme to get back at the pair, having Lucy shapeshift into Kevin and ask Gwen to dance, while Ben tells his best bud that Gwen really wants to see him on the dance floor. Though, instead of being grossed out as they'd hoped, the pair seem into it, with Gwen leading Kevin through a slow dance. To the side, Ben groans that this stinks, since they're not even properly embarrassed, and that weddings are the worst. Though adopting a starry-eyed look, Lucy retorts that it's actually super romantic, before immediately bursting into snorting giggles and crying psych while pointing at Ben's disgusted face. She then tells him to come on, since she's going to slip a bit of mud into the chocolate fountain to see if she can manipulate it to freak out the next person who passes by, with Ben grinning that this is the best idea anyone's had all weekend. Meanwhile, back outside, a small squad of plumbers have taken the Mans into custody, with everything being set for their transport and subsequent imprisonment. That is until a glazed look passes over their eyes as a trio of figures come into view. In the lead is Charmcaster, her hand outstretched in order to maintain her befuddlement spell, while behind her walks the Forever King and Red Knight. Stepping forward, the Forever King deftly snatches up the null void projector one of the plumbers had been carrying, while complimenting Charmcaster on her handiwork, as this will make recruiting their final member much easier. Though in response, the teenage witch merely sniffs haughtily, since her spellcraft is obviously the best around. Stepping away from his compatriots, the king then activates the projector, causing a large void to open up which even his armor should be able to pass easily through. However, before he can vanish through the portal, the captive Lenopans speak up, hopefully asking if they can go, though this earns them a cruel cold chuckle, as the Forever King questions why he would ever allow alien filth to run free on his planet. He then gives his Red Knight a nod, and as he vanishes into the null void, the red-clad assassin begins advancing on the pair, blades drawn. And that's where we'll leave things for now. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts, suggestions, or screams of rage in the comments below.